welcome to Bard's Craft. In this video I shall show you how to craft simple miniature terrain on a peasant level budget. Really, you can almost use anything. Here is the main piece I will be focusing this build around, a piece of driftwood I found on the shore. As I said, no fancy materials. I'll begin by making the rough work from styrofoam and cardboard. This piece will be good for the base. So, any good looking piece of old wood should work. Surely you can find something suitable for this. Worst case scenario, use an empty roll of toilet paper. I began by making the landmasses from pieces of styrofoam. This side will have a large hill, and the other side, probably grass. I'll figure it out later. Oh, how convenient. This piece fits right in here. Good. I'll carve these into shape, but before that, let's glue them in. There we go, and why not put one more piece here on the top to create extra vertical terrain. When the glue had dried, I started cutting away foam. When doing this, I removed chunks in a way that leaves behind flat surfaces for miniatures to stand on. This looked a bit funny to me, so I cut it lower and then glued on a larger piece. Yeah, that's gonna be good. Behold the additional cutting noises. That's quite good now. I placed in the driftwood to see how it looks. Some foam needs to be cut away here. I also cut out a goblin spot right here. Yeah, I then shaped the sides by ripping out material. The backside will just be flat. I'll glue on something smooth later. Next, I covered the rocky surfaces with bark choppings. Sand or sawdust should also work here just fine. First, I covered all vertical surfaces with PVA glue. Don't be afraid to use too much and to get messy. Then I dropped on my flocking. My way of doing this is to just throw it on and clean later. The chopped up bark flock is good because it will naturally become a mixture of larger pieces and tiny bits, almost dust. This translates to good coverage and lots of uneven textures. I also covered all horizontal surfaces in the same way. Here I used only the finer bark choppings. Some larger bits do get mixed in, but that's just good. The different grain sizes are easily separated by shaking, as shown here. Okay, that's done. To seal in everything, I sprayed with a water PVA glue mixture. It's about this thick. While it dried, I made sure to clean up. I got all manner of stuff stuck on the table. I'm so happy I live alone. Okay, I solved the warping problem. The cardboard wants to warp in this way. Presumably because of the print here. So keep that in mind if you do something similar. I also forced it into shape when it was a bit drier. Meanwhile, I figured out how to get this tea light into the hole. Violence! Luckily this wood has less strength than it has beauty. Almost good now. That's it. Now it fits. By the way, if you are enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe and like this video in the end. That helps, thanks. These might be useful. I painted the tea light black. That hides it well enough. I then glued it in place. I just made a mess with glue and added the wood bits because I wanted to. Yeah, that's beautiful. Inside, I covered the black part of the candle with larger pieces. There we have the light. Epic. Moving on, This one is now dry enough to paint. I started with a black primer. I went outside, of course. That was easy compared to the sloppy brushwork I've done before. While the excessive paint here dried, I cut out a hole for the candle. It doesn't actually have to be that exact. As long as I have access to the switch, all is good. Next, I overbrushed with brown. My bark flock method doesn't look like stone, but it looks good though. After it is fully painted, of course. For the ground, I used a lighter brown. Then I dry brushed with a grey. This is not good for this. Well, at least I gave it a try. Next up, grass flocking. I covered some areas with PVA glue, almost only on the horizontal surfaces. Then I sprinkled on dill as grass flocking. Works well, smells nice, might rot in a decade, so make sure to schedule your D&D session before that. Might be hard though. Good. Tap it down, remove the excess, back into the jar and back into the kitchen. Great, now I glued on the driftwood. Then I placed clumps of lichen at some protected spots. It's quite fragile, so I placed it accordingly. As far as I know, this lichen can easily be found in boreal forests. As an alternative, you could use sponges to create your bushes, as shown in this video. With the same sponge method, you can also make these trees. I just poked one in here. This is my version of modular trees. At this point, I was waiting for more ideas, so I decided to cover up the backside and the edges of the cardboard. Cardstock should work, from oat packages of course. I cut out these strips for the edges and these larger pieces for the back. I then painted them black and glued them on. You should definitely do this with hot glue. This was tricky and annoying to do. I covered up my excess glue mess by sprinkling on a bit of dill. Okay, I'll cut away the excess cardstock when the glue is dry. Here I have some green moss. I'm not sure how long this will stay green. But anyway, I put a few clumps of moss in some places. And yeah, if it doesn't stay green, it will become brown or a pile of dirt, so that's good as well. Okay, I then cut away the extra cardstock here, trying to cut along the terrain. This black side seems to add more depth to the piece, as it leaves room for imagination and saves time as well. I then cleared up everything with black. Hey, now I got the idea I was waiting for. I made mushrooms from the little hot glue I had left. I poked these caps onto toothpicks, then painted them red and purple. Then quickly I painted the dots with white, cut the sticks into suitable length, and then glued them onto the terrain. Alright, let's turn on the light and see. Enchanted by the fairy light, the adventurers find themselves reluctantly traveling deeper into the woods. No, Ingvar, you can still stop. How long have we been here? Where am I? Is that my leg? Is it too late? That damn voice. There we have it, cheap and simple techniques anyone can do. Subscribe and like if you enjoy the content, and I shall show you how to craft more terrain and miniatures. Compelled by the fairy light, you might also want to support the channel on Patreon. Do that only if you think it's worth it.